So Leonidas, it's great to have you back in Berlin.
Great
You just
to be
did the
here.
general rehearsal of the Dutilleux. How did it feel for you?
Yeah, it felt great, but it's just a enormous challenge, this piece. So it is, I feel great achievement to be able to finish it, play it through. It's really, really a piece that has all kinds of moods, all kinds of rhythms, all kinds of also so many colors are there, and the amazing thing is that it's just 5 movements, but in a non-stop mode, which means that they're connected, of course, through the interludes. That means one has to produce all this without any kind of chance to, like finish first movement and then go to the next one and so on. It's quite hard.
And it has a very special title, this piece as well. Do you want to?
L'Arbre des Songes.
Yeah.
Tree of Dreams, yeah. Well, in a way it is like this. I think his idea was that it starts like the branches, that there's the main branch, and then out of the main branch comes smaller one and smaller one and smaller one. And but the great thing is that from the beginning to the end there is elements that, so to say, identify the main idea of the piece. This is also what I like very much.
The main tree, or?
Yes, that means that main branch is always there, and then practically the rest of what's happening is part of that DNA, the same kind of DNA. It's quite amazing. And I have to say that I feel an atmosphere as Dutilleux creates with his orchestration and the concept of harmonies. I think it's just absolutely, it's so ethereal that in a way, this is also the challenge for the interpretation. There's, with the dreams, you cannot really touch them. You can only approach them in a way, so that one can somehow get in touch with the dream, but with the situation of a dream, let's say, not by it's not something material that you touch. And I think he has achieved that kind of atmosphere. Like, it's just a miracle somehow. To me, it is always a wonder to imagine, how he conceived not only the harmonies, but because then is how you distribute the roles in the orchestra, of course, in order to create the specific atmosphere. And it's just all fantastic. And Simon was saying the other day that when they did the first performance in I think in London, that he was still changing things in the score, and he was asking the orchestra to play here this, play there that, and all of a sudden the piece was kind of changing during the rehearsal. I wish I would have been there.
So to what extent would you lend a programmatic approach to interpreting a piece like this? Or is it just the raw abstract music? Or would you secretly have little ideas for these dreams?
Well, I cannot really answer that, because dreams vary, and there can be many good dreams and many bad dreams, but I can tell you my personal situation with this piece, which was a very special one, in the sense that I had to I first played it in '96. I was asked by Minnesota Orchestra then if I would be interested in playing this piece. Then I said, please send me material so I can look at it or listen to it. And by the time I heard the last chord, I called back and I said, I'm doing this immediately. But this was the time when I had to go to the army in Greece. And there, of course, it was not possible to really have a chance to practice, especially because the performance is going to be, thank God, after the basic training, which is about a month or so. But I had to learn the piece, during also this month. It's not just something like that you can learn in 1 or 2 days. But of course, during basic training, it's not exactly the atmosphere of, kind of relaxed that you're gonna have time and practice and so on. So I managed to, let's say, buy my practice and time, which was during dinner time. So during dinner time, I had a small room without electrical light, with a small window, because of course it was summer when I went to the army. The sunlight was still coming through the window. So there was some light in there, but not much. And in this room, I had to learn practically this piece. So for me, it was also like the tree of my dreams in a way, because it was my way out of that situation that I was very, I was feeling kind of how can I say, cancelled as a personality. Of course, that's how you have to feel in the army when you're a soldier. You just have to obey orders and kind of do what they tell you. But I could not be who I wanted to be, which was, an artist or a violinist, to be associated with the music and so on. And this was my only 1.5 hours, not even, that I had every day to be myself. So for me, that was, in a way, my tree of dreams was this piece that had this title. I remember when I met Didier and I told him the story, he was so moved. He was so moved. I said to him, this might mean nothing to you, but I have to tell you that for me this piece was associated with an experience that was quite hard, and through your music I could find a reason to, let's say, keep balance within myself and about who I am and what I want to do in my life and so on. I love it because it brings me into a certain kind of psychological state, which is this kind of quite an ethereal state of being, which means you kind of arrive at, you feel like you're on a different level. Like, let's say that you're not stepping on the ground, let's say, so much. And this is all I need. I'm not searching for a specific image here or a specific image there, because I think by the moment I would do that, probably I would then I would reach for what I was looking for in a way, and then of course that means that then it's practically over, because then you have arrived somewhere and you know where you are, and that's what you're looking for. But I let it guide me through the atmosphere and the beauty and the richness of Didier's writing. And the great thing is that, as with any piece of great music, you always, in the end, after a performance or after just practicing working with a great piece, one becomes a better person as a human being. And I think this is the ultimate mission of the arts anyway. And for me, who is somebody who practices every day, works every day as a musician and not just listening to music, this is still something that I enjoy and I love experiencing through great music. And I think Didier is definitely, this concerto is one of these pieces that helps me as a human being.
The balance is also incredible, because whilst you're talking about how ethereal and dreamlike the piece is, it's also very virtuosic.
Yeah, it is.
And still a very present violin concerto, nonetheless.
Well, he of course, it's inevitable. I mean, there is an enormous violin part, there is an enormous orchestra part, and the coexistence and the cohesion of the two is just absolutely great. I don't think he was ever going, or he ever cared about writing something that was very virtuosic. It was not. It was just the complexity of his ideas and the richness of his concept, I think, guide him to write in this way, which of course happens to be extremely demanding from everyone. I mean, the orchestra part is extremely difficult. It's not like it's just a virtuosic concerto for the solo part. I think it's one of the most demanding orchestrations for concertos in history. And but the great thing, again, as I said, is that it is not. It's not this that stays, or I hope it's not this what stays after the performance. I think it is that world of sound, that atmosphere, that let's say that concept, that aesthetic that we are guided towards from Didier, that really is what stays with the listener afterwards.
So could you recommend some other pieces for beginners to Didier's music?
Oh, also I should say that I think it's fantastic that throughout his music one hears the roots. You know, one hears Messiaen, for instance, everywhere in his music. It's even in the violin concerto, but in many other works. I remember I was here about a month ago or a month and a half, and I came to the concert of the orchestra when he played the Metabol, which is another great piece. His first couple of symphonies are really great, really great. I love his symphonies also, and I'm just sorry I don't know. He wrote another piece for violin and orchestra, in fact, which I don't know yet. Sur le même accord, it's called. This I don't know. I hope I will be able to learn it soon, but I'm really sorry that he did not write, for instance, a violin piano sonata, which would have been another masterpiece, given his way of writing. And so I feel that he has a great cello concerto. I think the important thing is that a listener comes to a concert open-minded to receive. You know, and I think that this is, in general, the great thing about the arts. And even if one is going to hear, for instance, this program, you have also the Pastoral Symphony, which is, of course, known to everybody more or less. But still, I think that the great thing would be that somebody who has heard it again and again comes to the concert with open ears and open mind to receive something that it could have been the first time. I think that's very important. So. To guide the listener, I cannot really give a general instruction, because the way I approach or I hear something, it might not be the same with somebody else, and it's not because I play or somebody else doesn't, but it's just the way that I am approaching or I am receiving certain things that might be different. Therefore, I think what is important is, as I said, one comes or one listens to this music open, and it might take more than once to actually get into this world. But so what? I mean, many times one reads the book and then one reads it again, or certain parts of it, in order to understand more and communicate more with the text.
And what about the artist's role towards openness? What you're talking about, performing things fresh, and an audience should hear things fresh. How would an artist accommodate this necessity in the arts?
Well, for me, an artist is a true artist for me should be ready to, let's say, cancel all his knowledge any moment. The experience he cannot cancel, but the knowledge he can. So I feel that an artist who is ready, prepared, and strong enough, because that takes enormous strength, to cancel all his knowledge in one moment, that something else will appear and maybe will open another channel to his for his way towards interpretation and so on. One should be absolutely ready to do so, and that's the way. And I feel that this is also something that applies in everyday life also, because there is one can never say that one knows it all or has seen it all, and the beauty of life is that there is this kind of unpredictable element that changes without logic or without reason sometimes, or definitely without expectation, changes everything.
So you've just released Beethoven sonatas. This approach to this very well-known core repertoire, it's been performed very often, there are many traditions behind it. How have you applied that to your interpretation of Beethoven?
Well, that's in exactly the same way, and that I am, even now, after having recorded the sonatas, I will, every time I will play them again, I will try and investigate if this is exactly what I want to do still, or if I should change a little here, or I should change a little there. But the point is that I never come to a performance or start rehearsing in a way that, okay, that's how we will play it, and like something that is already pre-decided and you form it there. Also with rehearsing, that's why I will keep playing this repertoire also with different people, because everybody has something to give, and one can take from anybody, and this is a great thing with this is the I think the unique beauty of live performance, which is that every time, even with the same exactly interpreters in the same hall, it's going to be something different, just because there's this kind of element of spontaneity that just will really be so decisive for what is going to happen in that moment, you know. And many times, you know, I'm sure you have experienced that as well, you know, going on tour, for instance, right, which you go on tour practically with more or less the same repertoire, or 2 or 3 programs, but you repeat quite a few times. You see how you can rehearse very well, everything is fine, but when you start playing many times and repeatedly in different halls, the interpretation grows with the same people. It just grows and grows, and if you look back to the first performances, there is quite a distance. I'm not saying better or worse, but there is a distance. That is the beauty of it, really. And a recording therefore has a very specific and decisive edge, which is that yes, it's not going to be the end of performing the certain repertoire that one is recording, but definitely there should be a deposit of enough experience and enough knowledge that can be changed. You have examples of people having recorded 2 or 3 times in their lives the same repertoire, and you see that within an era of, I don't know, 20 years or 25 years, there has been quite some changes. And that is, of course, that is allowed. But also, I don't believe in the sense that, you know, somebody is very famous, let's record this because somebody is famous. I think this is really not responsible. So there has to be this combination of enough experience, enough knowledge to deposit something to the world that can last.
So was recording Beethoven something you consciously waited for until you felt was the right time?
Oh yeah, clearly so. Because, you know, in recital I've played practically all of them, you know, throughout the years, many times. Then I did it already 2 or 3 times in cycle, like the whole thing. And then we recorded them, and then now we still play them. And as we still play them, we still find few things, you know, new here and there. But I think that let's say the corpus of the interpretation is something that I can live with, I think, for a few years. Then of course details will maybe vary a little here and there. Also it depends, as I said, because live performance is a live performance.
And another thing I wanted to ask you about is your violin. Your Stradivarius. The name sounds like a single malt whiskey, but it's
it is from it's a city in Wales, I think.
Right.
Abergavenny, and apparently the violin belonged to the noble family there, and it is a violin made in 1724, and you know, this was again somebody talking about a great artist that you know, when you imagine in the he was born, I think, in the 1640 or something, in the 40s, 1640s. He died in 1737. We're talking about, you know, 17th and 18th century. Somebody lived 97 years, which is an enormous. I mean, even for Dutilleux, it's 97.
Yeah. Lutosławski would be 97. Yeah.
So it's even for our time, it's absolutely a record. And but you imagine going back 2 centuries, and this man, up until the very last year of his life, produced violins. And when you look at his violins from the beginning of his life to the end, you will see this enormous difference of an artist who is, you know, the whole time searching for something that I am sure if we could ask him, he would tell us, yes, but I still look for this, I'm still looking for that, I still don't have that. You know, it's so many parameters that we don't today really consider, which is, for instance, think of the think of the repertoire that existed in that time. This is before Mozart. Think of the way they played the concerts, the rooms they played the concerts. Think of the size of the orchestras. The size, and then compared to today, the size of the concert halls today, which is, enormous, and we don't use any kind of amplification. And these violins, or his cellos, or his violas, the string instruments in general, are not possible to be surpassed, and they still function with minor internal changes. Nothing has changed outside. Function perfectly in in situations that were, in conditions that were unknown to Stradivari. They were totally unknown to him. He lived and he produced violins that had the value of a romantic violin concerto or a contemporary. Dutilleux, today we play with an orchestra that has 100 and something members, and this little box of wood is supposed to bring sound and fill the hall and carry over an orchestra. That's a miracle. And Stradivarius, when you look at his violins from the beginning of his life to the end, you will see that there is a fantastic, unquestionable quality to the sound, the color of the sound. But each and every instrument, even in the same year, has different sound, different personality. And throughout the years, you'll see that he changes 3 or 4 times his model in order to achieve what he was looking for, which we don't know what it is. But we can definitely see his changes, which are very significant and very, and then also that he spends time. There is the first period until the 1680s, more or less, then 1680s until, or 1670s late until 1690s. Then from that, he changes his model until the 1700s. Then he keeps that until 23, 24, something like this, and then he again changes to a different model until the end of his life. And they all are like irreplaceable, like people, like they have their own voice.
And so in what way would you say the violin has had an effect on your own playing?
Oh, well, with a great instrument, you know it too, I'm sure. Being a string player, a great instrument inspires the player, because our ears are so sensitive to the different colors and shades, and when one is playing on a great instrument, the instrument, I would dare to say that many times is teaching, in a way, a player how to treat music, because they have certain, let's say, they have, allow me to say, unlimited limits, so that there is, but they, you can just not go over. But what they offer you is enough. It's more than enough. But there is a point where you cannot go over. And then a great instrument is teaching that to the player. And of course, there is a factor of chemistry between player and instrument. Certain instruments fit better certain players and certain others don't. It doesn't mean the player is not good enough or the instrument is not good enough. It's just a question of chemistry. But when one finds the right chemistry, then one should find an instrument that allows all possible expressions, from the most elegant to the most powerful and dynamic and aggressive, even sometimes, because that's also a part of music. Music is not just beautiful for the sake of beauty. Music is true, and the arts are true, and within this true or this truth, everything is included. And a great instrument should be able to offer that to the player. And therefore, I feel that from the moment that I had the privilege to play on Strads, which is already now since 96, I think, or 97. I had another Strad before this one, what I have now. It has just changed me as a musician, and really helped me find many shades, because you know they are made in a time when the aesthetics of the people were totally different than today. Today we have incredible. When you walk on the street, you're bombarded with noise, with visual messages that we don't even read, but we're just bombarded by them subconsciously. So in a way, the mind of a person has never the chance to actually function as a mind, which means, you know, generate thoughts and actually what's the word, really work with them and find what's behind them and really try to hit to the center of thoughts. You know, it's never the time. You have to really isolate yourself somewhere and have peace and so on. But these people then, they lived in totally different environment. They had not this kind of noise. They did not have this kind of visual bombardment.
Stimulation.
Absolutely not. And even, you know, imagine, for instance, we read many times in Beethoven's music or in Mozart's music or in presto, which means very fast. Imagine if these people were riding an ICE today. You know, what would they feel of presto, you know, going 300 kilometers? I mean, they were going on horses and, you know, they were on carriages and they were, you know, what, more than 15, 20 kilometers an hour? They did not know, you know, 30 maximum. You know, imagine what it would be for them today, the concept of speed, if they were living in this kind of rhythm. So I want to say that these instruments were built on the basis of totally different aesthetics. And that is a great privilege for us who play these old classical instruments and for the audiences who listen to them, to get in touch with that lost world of aesthetics, which I feel so much is missing from our time. So that actually enforces the role of the arts, because the arts is there like a lighthouse. You know, we are in the ocean swimming, lost, and we need these lighthouses that they are going to give us, you know, remind us or guide us that this is where we are. We have something that we can hope for. That's where there is something that I can make it there, then I can feel better, I can feel safe and so on. And that's, I think, why I also feel very, very privileged and blessed to be able to play on one instrument like this and have it every day with me at home, you know, and take care of it and enjoy it and be a part of his history.
Well, we're very privileged to hear you play it. It's wonderful to have you back in Berlin, Leonidas.
It's great to be here, always a pleasure and honor.
I can't wait for tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, me too. Thank you, take care.